No, man, but you got to keep going. What am I going to do, quit? That's not an option. You got to keep on keeping on. Life's a garden, dig it? You make it work for you. You never give up, man. That's my philosophy.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Let's Get Growing show on the Urban Gardener channel. Thank you very much for joining us today. For those of you who are unaware, I am Jay Dixon, the Jaybot, and it is the Jaybot Takeover. Today Enoch can't be with us. He has another engagement, and so I am normally the show in the background. I am the facilitator, producer. Sometimes I'm a guest and a co-host, and today I am your host. I am really excited to have you here with us today, and once again, welcome to our show. I'm just going to slide us into this for 1 second.
The Jaybot.
So, for those of you who are unfamiliar, the reason I am called the Jaybot is because one of the people in our audience, Bowtie David, who does Bowtie Life in the Garden, he does a number of different functions within our channel and has his own channel. And at some time in the distant past, as I was facilitating a different garden channel, a certain person that was new was a little uncomfortable with the amount of information I normally provide, how quickly and efficiently I provide information in the chat area, and he assumed I was AI and was deeply offended. And no amount of convincing by me or other people in the chat was going to convince him that I was not AI. So we've come up with the name of the Jaybot for me. And I'd like to welcome all of you to today's show. Today's show will be hosted by me, but my featured guest will be Katrina from Sow and Tare. Those of you who are familiar with our channel have seen Katrina from Sow and Tare on our show previously. She has been a guest, and she also has turned into a regular contributor, and I am super glad to have her here with us today. So, there's a number of different things that will be slightly different than the normal format that you see, because I am not a content creator. I'm a stand-in, and I really hope to make a quality show for you, but I'm not quite as smooth as the people who are content creators on a regular basis. And another slight factor that's going on today is that I have been unwell for some time. And so periodically I will have a little bit of a raspy throat, a little bit of a cough, and I'll do my very best to have that not interfere with you today. But it is a likelihood. But I just want to thank all of you for joining us. And just a quick reminder to those who are familiar with the show or unfamiliar is that we will be having, let me just see if I can find this. Here we go. We will be having roll call a little bit later on the show. So roll call is letting us know that you are here. So it gives us a chance to sort of connect up with you. You tell us what is going on in your life, who you are, where you are, what's growing on, and we would be so glad to hear from you. And we'll be connecting up with you a little bit later on in the show. So don't forget about our roll call. So that's going to let us know that you are here. And we are so grateful for our audience, and we would be pleased to hear from you. Just a few reminders as we get going here is that we would like you to like, subscribe, and share today's show and any of our shows. that we are a 3-day gardening week, and that means that we are showing up on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Normally at this time for Saturday and Sunday, and then Monday will be in the evening, and that time will depend on where you are in the world. But for us, it is Saturday and Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m. Eastern. But the Monday night show, which is the Green Room, will be Mondays at 5 p.m. Pacific and 8 p.m. Eastern. And just a quick reminder about that Green Room is that a new segment that we've created involves Katrina, Robin Gardens, and Shawnee Grows, and they are each contributors to a new segment that we've created as the new Green Room show started at the beginning of this year, and it's called Grow What You Eat. And in a rotation, you're going to see segments from each of them, and we are grateful for their contributions. Also, just a quick reminder that there can be a shout out to Team Replay, and we so appreciate you for showing up for us. And any of you, either on the replay or people who are currently with us, we'd like to thank you for joining us after the stream. Let us know that you're here by leaving a comment, and let us know what's growing on, suggestions for the show, comments for our guests. And we so appreciate later when we do have our guests that after the show, you do go to their channel. We'll be providing you links. And on that channel, let them know that you were glad to see them here on our show. And today it will be Katrina doing that. So we want you to join in the conversation. We have developed a very active and busy chat area, and we so appreciate you being there. Today, because I am busy doing hosting duties, we're going to have David from Bowtie Life in the Garden, Shawnee Grows. She will also be helping, and for some of the time we'll be having Adam as well as our moderator in that conversation in the chat area, and we so like your interaction and your questions. So those questions, we'll be having questions later in the show when we have our guests, so we can have questions and comments throughout the chat and questions specifically for our guest when she is on the show. We also have links in the description below in the show description, so please check out those links. And another thing we have here is direct donations, so that you can use Cash App, Venmo, PayPal in the links that are in that description. So that is our rundown about things that we have going on here. I just wanted to let you guys know a few little tidbits of things going on in my life. I have unfortunately been unwell for a little while, so I don't have a lot of amazing gardening things going on. My health has been a little bit rough, but I have had a few things going on that's garden-wise, and I'd like to share a little bit of that with you. I'm going to start with some show and tell of some stuff that's like real-life stuff that I've got, and then I'll show you some images of stuff going on with me with the gardening. And first thing I want to show you is a couple pieces of friend mail. And what's happened with this is that a friend of the show has sent me a bunch of mail, which is sealed and unopened. So I don't even know what's in here. So you're getting a first look at what is in here. I have a pretty good idea, but don't actually know what's in here. And it is garden related. And as you can see, I've kind of did operational security of blocking some things out, but I just want to point out there's fun and nice things throughout this letter of just like well wishes and fun pictures and all that kind of thing. And little friends. And inside, what do I find? But seeds. This is fantastic. Look at all the great seeds I got. So this stuff came from Robin Gardens. She is an excellent friend of the show and is in the chat area today. And I so appreciate her kindness of look at all the great seeds. This is fantastic. But Robin, did I call her generous? Yes, I did. because Robin has an additional one for me here. So again, more nice pictures, butterflies, smiley faces, all that kind of stuff, because that's the kind of person she is. And she is, can we guess what's probably going to be in here? Opening it for the first time, I don't know. More butterflies and flowers, of course. And more seeds! Yay! Look at that. Seed, 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 seed. So all kinds of fantastic seeds. Poppy, marigold, Anaheim pepper, Cushaw squash. Oh, wow. Yeah, I've been considering that. Marigold, African, dill. And let's see what's on this other one here. We've got celery tango. We've got lettuce from Botanical Interests. Mr. Tartar's German tomatoes. We've got black crim. Oh, I miss black crim. Oh, good. I got to get sprouting this stuff really soon for my area. Dr. Wyke's yellow tomatoes and Coslu Genovese indeterminate tomatoes. So I really want to thank Robin Gardens for being the sweet, kind person that she is, generous with her sharing, and her history of loving tomatoes. She is spreading it around, and I am so grateful for this. So fantastic. And as a relation to this, yesterday I was out shopping and I found this little goodie. What this is from my local dollar store, and it is a container, but it's got lots of other little containers inside. So if you think of it as kind of like, I should have pre-opened this if I was a little better at planning, but I'm not. So there we are. It is a hinged box, and inside of it is 64 little tiny Tic-Tac style containers like this. 64 per box. So what would I put in here? Oh, let me think. Seeds. So I have purchased 2 of these. So I have 128 little seed organizing. So if you want to start doing things like saving your own seed, obtaining seed from friends and stuff, you can have a lovely little organization system in very tight space, but yet nice. And this cost me at my local store $4.50 Canadian. So that would be about, I don't know, 50 cents US or something. Our exchange is crazy. That is a joke, but it would be probably about $3.25, $3.50 US is a guess. But yeah, handy little package that I found out when I was out having a little walkabout. And another little quick thing that I wanted to show you, but I think what I'm going to do is just have us have a little break, and then I'm going to show you a few other pictures of stuff going on in my garden and things that are happening. So what I'm going to do is have us a little break here to connect up with IV Organics, who is our show sponsor. And also you're going to see the garden trivia. And I so appreciate those bits. So I'm just going to show that. And then we're going to come back and I'm going to show you a little bit more about what's going on in my garden. So be right back.
IV Organic was founded on the gardening concept of whitewashing, simply lightening your plants to better tolerate weather extremes, transplant shock, and so much more. Such a valuable gardening practice that farmers have been doing it since BC times. However, in recent years, most research has been caring for plants and trees using latex and tar-based products which are designed to last 100 years, but fall off your plants within 1 to 2 years as your plants grow, contaminating your garden soil indefinitely. Available in colors white or more natural looking colors such as brown, green, gray, and grayish. IV Organic has 2 general categories of whitewash products. The 3-in-1 Plant Guard, which includes 7 natural oils including castor, cinnamon, clove, garlic, peppermint, rosemary, and spearmint, which offer insect and rodent repellent protection, and the Whitewash Oil Free formula. Both products also have diatomaceous earth in the base ingredients, which naturally offer some insect repellent protection too. As always, keep growing with IV Organics and wishing you all happy gardening.
Hi gardeners, this is Brandy, the Suburban Gardenista, and I'm here today with your garden trivia question for this week. And your question for today is, when making maple syrup, how much sap do I need to make 1 part maple syrup? And your options are A, 10 to 1, B, 40 to 1, C, 250 to 1, or D, 400 to 1. I'll be back a little bit later in the show with the answer.
So, much thanks to the Suburban Gardenista for that contribution, and we would love to have you put out what you think is the right answer to that trivia question. If you want a link to the Suburban Gardenista, she is down in the description below, the link to her channel, and she is also here in today's chat, and we so appreciate that. And yeah, so that's for that section. And now I'm just going to show you a few things that are going on in my garden right now. Let's see. Sorry, I'm a little bit awkward at this, but some of you hopefully will have a little consideration for the fact that I am not a normal content creator. So I just want to show you something quite beautiful in my garden now, and this is snowdrops. I have probably, I'd say in the neighborhood of thousands of snowdrops, and these are the first garden creatures that show up live in my gardens, and they show up anywhere between April and May, and they're quite a beautiful, delicate little flower. And they're one of the few things that's showing signs of life here in Canada. We just got rid of the last of our snow, and those snowdrops are the first sign of life that we have. And another thing that I'm going to show that, sorry, it's going to be a little awkwardly placed because of the type of thing that it is, but here is a picture of a portion of my home garden, and in there is a one of my fruit trees, and you'll see that at the base of it, it's been protected. And here's a slightly closer image of that. And what I've done is the fruit trees get so chewed up by animals that you can see it's actually double coated. It's got a wrapping of a coil wrap, and then it's got a mesh wrapping that goes around that. And that's pieces of old chicken wire that I just double wrapped around it. And the reason I'm taking any time to show that to you is it's a quick, easy, cheap thing that you can do to protect your trees. And in our area where we have very severe winters, our trees get quite chewed up by the rodents as they become hungry in the winter. And I now have 4 fruit trees, one from about 5 years ago and 3 new ones. And those fruit trees are quite those fruit trees are quite vulnerable to the rodents and what happens to them in the winter. So here's something you can do that costs very little money, takes very little time, and is entirely effective to repel those rodents. And I am really glad that it's working well to protect them. And I'm just going to show you a couple of other pictures of things that I've got going on in my garden right now. I'm very happy about this one because as a person who is multiply disabled, aging, but still wanting to be in the gardening game, so to speak, life gets a little tough in the garden. And I choose to use raised beds, and in the community that I live in, we have to grow, because it's a tiny home community, we grow our main food gardens in a community garden. And each garden plot is approximately 10 by 20 feet, which is fairly small compared to the allotments in the UK. But that's the space that we're given. And over time, the garden beds that I've created, these frame or raised garden beds that are fairly small and basic, deteriorate. So I am pleased to say that I've invested in quite a few garden beds, and they are galvanized metal with the idea that as I build them, they will last hopefully the rest of my life. So a little bit raised for me, who is a little bit more elderly and disabled as time goes on. So I'll be able to continue gardening. So I'm just going to show you a couple of quick pictures of the garden beds that I got. I got this one, which is that. And I got 6 of those that are 34 by 34 inches for those of you in the US. And here is a little bit more about what the packaging is like. And so it's fairly small, it's fairly light, about 9 pounds. And I purchased 6 of those to help fill in and replace my garden beds in my small garden space. And that's going to be one of the big projects that I'll be doing this spring. And then not to be finished with that, but tight with the space in there, I am garden bed greedy. So I got more garden beds. I got these ones, and that is definitely not me as the spokesmodel. And they are 20 by 40 by 11. They're about 11 inches tall for most of them. So not exceedingly tall, but nice. And here's what the packaging looked like that. And I got 6 of those as well. So I have not been, once again, I haven't been feeling very well. So I haven't been doing it much with it. The ground is too early to be worked. So some of the jobs that I'm going to have to look at doing is, because I use adapted hugelculture, is that when the ground can be worked, I can, work at those raised beds. I choose to do it in a way that's both money and space saving. And in that, I gather a whole bunch of yard side garden waste. So I basically go throughout my neighborhood and collect things like sticks, chopped branches, pine needles, leaf litter, things like that. And I gather those all up. And when I go to the garden bed, I dig, when the ground can be worked, dig out the garden bed, saving that native soil, filling it to the height of the soil line with all of these adapted hugelculture type materials. Then I put the garden bed in place. Then I put the soil back, and then I add whatever amendments and things I want to improve the soil. I use organic methods, and I heap it kind of like a bread, a loaf of bread, so that what happens is, as it settles a little bit, it basically will be the height that I want it. And by doing it in that method, it costs very little money. I'm using local resources. I'm using organic methods. And because I'm doing essentially an adapted hugelculture underneath, it's gradually going to work as kind of like its own compost bin, as an oversimplification. So it's composting and developing and creating a good soil structure for years afterwards. And because of the age I'm getting to be and the health that I am, it's looking like I may have to adapt in those ways in the future. And this is me kind of future proofing, so I can still be a gardener in the, as things change with my health. So that's kind of what's been going on in my gardening life. There's a lot more I could be and should be taken care of, but unfortunately my health has been interfering. So what I'm going to do is go to all of you for roll call. So I'm just going to give you guys a last chance to connect up with us regarding roll call. What I need you to do is let us know who you are, where you are, and what's going on with you. And I'm going to feature you here on the show. So, we'll just start that now.
My name is Kevin. Yeah. That is my name. Yeah. They call me Kevin. Yeah. Because that's my name. Roll call.
So, we're going to do roll call. So this is sort of the last chance for any of you who want to connect up with us and let us know that you are here. I'm just going to start with our featured guest, who is Katrina from Sow and Tare. She's going to be on her show a little bit later, and she is saying hello to us from Douglas County, Oregon. I'm hoping everyone's doing well today. And who's excited for the show today? I'm excited for the show today. And we're going to talk about a very special topic a little bit later. And we also have Bowtie David. Hey, David, so glad you are here, helping us behind the scenes, being there for us in the chat. We so appreciate everything that you contribute to the show. And he's letting us know that he and Mrs. Bowtie have been clearing raised beds, peppers and tomatoes, and being close to ready for the ground. Fantastic. And we also have Shawnee Groves here, quite a contributor and friend to the show. We so appreciate her. Today is kitchen day. I made mushroom gravy, egg noodle. Oh, you're making me hungry. Oh, look at all the details. Oh, fantastic. Not me. I'm a snacker. But the nice thing about gardening is virtually everything you get from the garden you can do with minimal preparation. And I so appreciate that. And I appreciate you, Shawnee. And we also have Robin Gardens. Oh, what a coincidence. Robin, my friend with all the seeds, thank you so much. Hello from Chicagoland, eating a salad and waiting for the show. Great. Thank you for being here. And we also have Brandy, the Suburban Gardenista. Happy Saturday, all. We so appreciate you for what you've been contributing and helping us with the trivia. And I will be giving your trivia answer shortly. So while you guys are waiting for that answer, you still have a chance to figure out what is the answer for the question about the maple sap. Okay. And we also have Meg's Edible Landscapes. Hey, glad you are here. And let's see what we've got here. And here's a kind word from Shawnee. Organizing seeds is key. I think you would be alarmed at how chaotic my seeds are. But this is a potential step towards making them a little better with the seed organizers. And we also have Rob's Attic. He also has a channel and is a regular here, and we so appreciate him. And let's see. We also have Lisa DeKramer. I'd love to send that to my sister. I'm not sure what she's talking about, whether it's the seeds or the organizers, but if you're in Canada, I found those organizers, which could be for craft purposes. I'm using them for seeds at a local Dollarama, which is a store that exists only in Canada, I believe not in the US. So sorry about that. And let's see. And we have actually a comment from Katrina saying, I just cooked down my syrup last night. Sounds good. And different people putting in their trivia answers. A few people guessing or maybe knowing. And a good point is made here. It depends on the type of syrup. And big leaf maple here, and a lot less sugar than sugar maple. And that's kind of going to come out a little bit later in the discussion when we come up with the answer. And we also have, I didn't see you initially in here, but I just want to show you, Janet McDonald, that you are here, and we so appreciate you. I'm less smooth at this than our usual host, Enoch. And we have EEE here, okay, and talking about the maple syrup. And you can see his answer there, his or her answer there, but talking about making maple syrup as a kid. And we also have Methydicus albriticus, and talking about cleaning out the high tunnel. And Dusty Flats is here. We so appreciate you as well. Big West Lawns Care, talking about Canadian walking onions and how that the different sizes that they were and what they were like after the snow melt. We just got snow melt in some of our southern areas, like the last bit of it disappearing. And so much discussion. I so appreciate everything that you guys are communicating with each other, but there is so much I can't keep up. But it is all appreciated. Let's see. I'm just trying to make sure I don't miss anybody. Oh, Muddy Puddles Farm. Joe, so glad that you are here. And Growing with Stella. Hey, Stella from the UK. Glad to see you. And let's see. Bowtie saying, I've got 146 chats to get through. Yes, me too. And while kind of tap dancing some of this other stuff too. And let's see. And Lisa DeCramer is pointing out to us that she just planted a peach tree. Southwest Colorado is way too warm. I also planted strawberries. Yeah, Gardner Scott, which is another channel I help with, also mentioned that it's unusually warm. And Big West pointing out soil wins, happy worms. Yes, he cares deeply about improving his soil for both him and his clients with lawn care. And I think that's just about it. Oh, no, of course, I may have missed this one earlier, Darth X. And glad to see you here. And of course, I choose a bad discussion there. But anyway, an unfortunate discussion, part of the gardening world, part of the garden reality. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just give us that one more break and go to the trivia answer. And so this is your last call for getting your answers in. And then we're going to meet up with our guest. So I'm just going to do that. And thank you so much for joining us and being with us today. I'm just going to get that trivia answer in. See you in a few minutes.
Hey gardeners, thanks for tuning in to our show today. We'll be right back at it here in just a moment. I just wanted to take a second here to highlight our regular videos and features here on the Urban Gardener channel. Our weekly garden journals, and our incredible featured visits.
I'm back with the answer to this week's trivia question. Do you know how much sap is needed to make maple syrup? The correct answer is B, 40 to 1. Maple sap is mostly water, which means you need to boil it down for a long time before it turns into that beautiful amber syrup that we all love on our waffles. Although the 40 to 1 rule is a good estimate for how much sap you may need, it's actually quite variable and can be influenced by many things like tree canopy size, soil conditions, the tree's health, water availability, and the time of year. Ultimately, you need a lot of sap to make a little bit of syrup, but it's well worth it in the end when that beautiful, delicious syrup hits your taste buds. And that's your garden trivia for today. Thanks so much for playing. Enjoy the rest of the show and be sure to pop by and say hi at the Suburban Gardenista on YouTube and Instagram, and there'll be a link for you down in the description below. Thanks again and happy gardening!
So, how did you do with that question? Very interesting facts about sap. And there are actually more trees than just maples that can be utilized for sap. And you might want to check out what's safe and able to be used in your area to provide a natural sweetness for you and to learn how to safely render down that sap. And we did have some people in the comments discussing history of doing sap, interest in growing sap and doing sap and having the right trees and stuff like that. As one little side point, My partner, when we first started getting together 24 years ago, was not at all interested in gardening. And one of our first gifts that I gave to him was a shrub for our shrub anniversary. And every May he gets shrubs for his garden and able to grow those. It was my way of gatewaying him in. And one of the other dominant gifts that I gave him was a sugar maple many years ago. And it's just growing up to the size and stage where it can be tapped. So the sneaky ways that gardeners try and infiltrate their way into non-gardeners' lives. And he did appreciate those, and I so appreciate him. So if there's anyone else here in the chat that would like to make any comments, have any questions or anything like that, let us know that you're here. We are grateful for it. And without any further delay, I'm going to bring in our first guest, our guest today. And I'd like to welcome to the stage Katrina from Sow and Tare.
Hello, how you doing, Jay?
I am so glad that you joined us today, and thank you for being here.
Thanks you for an invite. Awesome. Always awesome to come on the show.
Thank you. I was stepping in for Enoch, who those of you have stepped in a little bit later in the show. Enoch is our normal show host, and he has another obligation today. So I am normally backstage, and I'm creating a show today. So I approached Katrina. She was very generous in saying yes, and she let me know what topic she would like to talk about today. And the potential is very, very big with this topic. She decided that we would talk about bugs in the garden. Good bugs, messy gardens, and basically how to create a thriving ecosystem. So we're going to be discussing basically how you, as an ordinary gardener, might want to build a backyard ecosystem, which sounds a little daunting when I put it out there as a big title. But what we're talking about today is just things that you may not be aware of, small steps that you might want to take, things you might want to consider as future little projects, maybe things that only take a few minutes, but you could be part of someone having a different outlook about bugs. And could you take a few minutes and just kind of explain to the audience who you are, a little bit about your channel, maybe a little bit about what's going on with you now?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Katrina, and my channel name is Sow and Tare. Sow as in sowing seeds, and Tare as in balance on a scale, or balance in life. Measuring only the good stuff also. And so I am a little more than a year and a half at this property here. I'm in Southern Oregon, and I have big infrastructure things going on. I plan on doing a food forest. I grow rabbits for meat, and they're little poo packets that are wonderful. And I'm expanding the garden this year. So the garden that was here, I'm expanding. So that's now. I used to live for 11 and a half years in Gilroy, California. And so my growing zone here now is zone 8B. My growing zone there was zone 9B. So I moved a zone, which is zone cooler. And I was on 7,000 square foot urban lot, which is just a regular city lot, and grew tons and tons of stuff. So the first 3 years of my channel is the last 11 and a half years of me doing edible landscaping at that property. So if you want to look at the earlier videos, check that out. And it really became an ecosystem. I'm a wildlife biologist, so I'm an ecologist, is my profession. And so I look at things a little bit differently than some of the gardeners and some of the people who raise animals as well. Ecology is a full circle. It's looking at the entire thing. It's looking at everything together. And that's why we're talking about bugs today.
Fantastic. I'll be honest with you. I did do a little bit of research to try and prepare for today's show. But for those of you kind of going, well, bugs, I don't really know much about bugs. The kinds of things I was told about bugs, I'm not even sure are right, and are all bugs bad, and kind of confusing. And do I even want to, integrate more bugs into my life or my garden? I'm with you there. Okay. I am not a garden expert. I am not a bug expert. However, we can all learn and grow together, can't we, today? And
Absolutely.
yes.
Absolutely. And so we have this ecosystem. Nature takes care of herself, right? What we do as gardeners is we take a bunch of the food plants and cram them together and say, I want this to grow. Well, you don't have some of the other plants that are really important for that ecosystem if you do just that. So you can attract good insects to take care of your bad insects. I believe Shawnee put a comment in here, I think it was her, about IPM. IPM is integrated pest management. And it really is about having that ecosystem. Sometimes it's about just releasing some ladybugs. But if you have an ecosystem that's healthy, your bug issues for your edible plants will be way, way, way lower. And it's amazing what can happen when you have that ecosystem in place. Something that I encourage people to do is to bring either native plants or like native plants to your garden. And whether that's in your front yard, because maybe in your HOA, you're not allowed to grow, vegetables, which is a ridiculous thing, but it does happen. Well, maybe you grow some sages, some salvias that have wonderful flowers that are good for bees and hummingbirds and moths and skippers and, all of these different kinds of good bugs that attract to your property, are beautiful. They serve a purpose, even if they're not edible. There are a lot of things that are edible that also flower. Yeah. And so attracting those bugs that are good meaning they're either pollinators or they are predators. So those are basically the two things that I consider a good bug, is they're either a pollinator or a predator. And it's great. You have some plants that are really, really good nectar sources or really, really good pollen sources. For the animals that eat that, so hummingbirds and mostly hummingbirds and insects that eat that, the nectar is a carbohydrate and the pollen is a protein. So they need some of both, which is very interesting.
Wow.
So like with bees, they'll make bee bread is what it's called. That's made out of the pollen.
Yes.
And so it's a totally different thing.
Wow. Fantastic. I mean,
yeah.
Boy, we're learning about bugs in a way that I hadn't even considered. So hopefully by the end of this show, you'll have an idea of which insects to protect and which ones to not panic over. When this is a little, you might want to cover your ears for this part, but when I was growing up, we were basically taught all bugs bad. And we're going to learn which bugs are either neutral or beneficial to ourselves and our gardens and to our ecosystems overall. And I am absolutely here for it. And I'm so glad that you are here with us today. So I'm just going to throw out one concept here for us, is that messy is a sign of ecological intelligence. And can you give me a little bit of an idea about what that kind of phrase or concept means?
Yeah. So messy gardening is I guess it's a term. I've heard it. I've used it. I don't know who made it up, but messy gardening is, it can be taken in several different contexts. So one would be at the end of the gardening season, leaving your stuff there. Don't pull it out. And what that does is it gives the insects a place to overwinter. So if you're pulling that out and making it a desert, your insects you have to bring into the property again. You have to attract them again instead of they're going to overwinter, or their eggs will overwinter and they're there the next time. So leaving, and you don't have to leave all of it, but leaving some dead things in your garden in the non-growing season is a good thing. But growing messy is having things grow all the time. So you have things dying and you have things growing in your annual garden. But then also chaos gardening is another kind of direction you can go with that, which is planting everything everywhere. So you look out in farms and you see monoculture. You see the same crop, the whole thing is the same crop. And when you have a whole field of the same thing, whatever is a pest of that crop, if they find it, they will find all of it. Sorry. So yeah, they will find all of it. If you have messy gardening and you plant things in between and you say, oh, I want some flowers with my peppers, or I want some flowers or some herbs with my this. One, it makes it harder for an individual type of pest to take over the world of your garden because it has barriers. It's like, oh, I don't eat that one. I'm not going to go that way. I'm going to go this way. It can also mask the other plants. So you might mask a scent or a visual concept that they need. So that's what I mean by messy gardening is both actually messy and then organized chaos. That's kind of what I'm talking about. And when you have that kind of system that is integrated, you do have pests. It's not going to get rid of your pests. So aphids are bad bugs, right? But it's a good thing to have some aphids in your garden, because if you end up having an aphid issue and you don't have the predator already there, you have to then attract the predator or buy the predator, which in most cases, that's going to be ladybugs, which you can buy, but they will show up. So if you have a trap crop, such as I had a broccoli that lasted 3 years randomly, a lot of those brassicas, if you have one that's set aside away from the other stuff, that can be your trap crop. Nasturtiums work really well for aphids. There's different things that work really well. And then you have your population of ladybugs, of your predators already there. So calling on those predator bugs when you don't have a food for them, it's going to take longer to take care of your situation. But if you have food for them there already, they'll just go, oh my gosh, I need to go over there too. So it's pretty incredible.
Wow, great. And Shawnee makes a point here about learning each life cycle of the insects is a fun pastime. And do you have any comments about that?
Yeah. So so if you're a predator, a lot of insects are predators at the adult stage. A lot of insects are predators at the larval stage. So hoverflies are those flies that are kind of annoying, but don't harm anything. And a lot of them look like bees. They have the black and white stripes and they're kind of flat bodied and they just hover. And they don't really do much as an adult. They might do some pollination, but their larva basically eats other insects' larvae. So they are predators at the baby stage. And so that's important. Now, if you are a ladybug, then you also, when they're little, they do not look like ladybugs when they're little. They look like little alien things. And knowing what it looks like, because you might go, oh wow, I don't know what that is. It looks yucky. I'm going to squish it. Don't do that. Know what your bugs are. Look them up. A lot of these things are fairly easy to look up. What I recommend is if you know the insects as an adult, just look up what their larva looks like. So let's talk about some good bugs.
Yep. So
some good bugs, ladybugs, most people know that. Ladybugs, they go after mainly aphids. Hoverflies are good for predation when they are larvae. Dragonflies and damselflies. So this gets into making your property, your neighborhood, your little garden into an ecological area. If you add water to your system, if you dig a pond, so I dug a pond at my old place. If you dig a pond, if you have a steady water source, it could just be a trough. Put fish in there so that you don't, put some minnows or something in there so you don't get too many mosquitoes, right? But that will attract water insects. So water striders, they actually fly. Like, people don't know that they fly. A lot of water bugs will show up if you provide the water. And dragonflies and damselflies are predators. They are good predators. They eat everything. They're not going to, pick and choose. But having them around is a deterrent to some insects. So that's really, really good. Praying mantis is another one that is, it's a good insect, but it eats everything. And then we all know honeybees are good for gardens, right? They're not native here, but they are good for gardens. And so supporting, maybe if you have a hive or your neighbor has a hive, supporting that is good. We have tons of native bees. And those native bees need homes. So if you've seen like insect homes, you have like the little bamboo strips or the, crawly holes or whatever. Those are really great to put up. My recommendation is put it up where it gets sun, and you may try different areas. Some even bees. I had some bees living in screw holes in my gate at my old place. And they were completely fine with me opening the gate and closing the gate. They would just fly out and then fly right back in. It was very cute. Yeah.
So I've had a couple questions come to mind, at least for me, and I do encourage the audience to also put questions. Very busy chat area. So if you can put your questions in all capitals, because it's super easier for me to read if you do that and me to catch that, because I do want to answer your questions, but a little difficult to see amongst the fantastic discussion that that's going on there. One thing is that for example, one thing that came to mind, there's been multiple questions because you've been talking about so many wonderful things, is how would people who go bug, how do I identify, like, what bug is what bug? How do I identify a bug? Yeah. Are there certain websites or tools or things like that you know about that you could recommend for people who are like,
so there's
a bug?
Insects is they're the largest of the animals on this planet, is like that biggest group. So if you're trying to identify down to species, you're going to have, without training and without like lots of thought, you're going to have a difficult time doing that. What I recommend is learning the general groups, and what can really, really help if you're focused on gardening is to look up the integrated pest management for your area. All bees are good. All bumblebees are good. Wasps are great for garden, not so great for people sometimes. Yes. I would reach out to those, and then there's also extension offices have that as well. And so those are some resources that comes to mind. There's so many good bugs, and what I'd like for people to know is there are good bugs, and there are certain things that some gardeners do that are not discriminatory. So using certain pesticides, or using certain pesticides at certain times of day can hurt bees specifically. So make sure you read your label before you buy it and know what you're actually going for. Using soapy water instead of some of these harsh chemicals is good. And then also using diatomaceous earth, or DE, use it where you need it, but don't spread it over everything, because it literally is little tiny shards and it cuts up all the insects. So it's not discriminatory. And so those are the kind of things that I want people to think about before they use. I'm not saying completely avoid, think about before you use, and go from there. So there are extension offices all over the United States. I don't know about other countries, but they have people who you can send things to and say, hey, is this a good or a bad? And they will let you know. So that's going to be a really good resource. I don't know about other countries. What about Canada?
Yeah, we have what they call master gardeners here, and
we have that here too.
Really our way to find out that kind of advanced information that ordinary people don't tend to know. But the internet's becoming a wild and wonderful thing, and I say wild and wonderful, but wild as well. What I mean by that is there are getting to be more and more resources available for us in terms of things like apps, in terms of things like ChatGPT and things like that. But the point is, trust but verify, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
You get a little bit of a look at, is that source reliable? Is it,
And the one,
ordinary person saying something versus reliable information?
yeah,
Do you, when you find information, the first source, probably, if it's reliable, yes, okay?
right.
But still to the verify. How
Look for
about
.edu.
source and another source? And then we get 3 good reliable sources saying pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
Then you are towards a course of action. And that's how I am about things, is 3 verifiable, reliable sources, and then I'm to action. And I don't mind a little bit of rest time while I research properly, because I don't have a lot of energy these days. I'm getting old. I'm getting tired. So that I don't want to make money and effort and time and then go, now I've got to back up and fix something. How about if I just learned it the pretty much right way from the beginning?
Yeah.
And in some cases, I don't know if any of you have seen the Jaybot in action, but you can find good, reliable sources really, really quick. And 3 is not a big hill to climb before you go out and make an effort.
Yeah, I would say the only insect that I am category that I'm familiar with that people might get tripped up on is there's a group of insects called a true bug. And so that would be like an assassin bug is a true bug. And there are some that are harmful to plants and some that are helpful to plants. So, or some that are harmful to plants and some that are harmful to predators. Not predators, predators of plants, herbivores, whatever. And so that's like one category that if you see, if you look up true bug, you'll know, it's a shape you'll recognize. And yeah, just figuring that out, you might have to look up, and I mean, maybe local university has an entomologist. A lot of professors are just like, yeah, I'll answer that. Sure. Some aren't, but a lot of them are.
Okay. I'm just going to back us up here a little bit. I'm just going to throw this out to the chat areas to consider if you are a tidy or a messy gardener. And now that we've started talking about, like, maybe 15 minutes ago, about the aspects of why you might have a messy garden that's happenstance or perhaps by design or by plan. Do you consider yourself to be that? It used to be in my area that the thing of pride is to have an absolutely pristine English garden style, the traditional English garden style, everything being, I'd say, pruned within an inch of its life. And that's the theory of perfection. And I'm glad that we're kind of coming around to a thing that's a better understanding of the ecosystems that we live within and how we can be part of it and actually nurture, like you say, the possibility of different types of bugs. And an interesting thing that I had not considered before is that sometimes when you have what might be viewed, and I totally understand it's an oversimplification of good bugs and bad bugs, but I've learned, and not to perfection, is it sometimes what you do is you leave what is a bad bug or a problematic bug for your situation. You might leave it for a while and observe it, notice if it's getting out of control. And sometimes, with no effort on your part at all, the good bugs go, oh, smorgasbord, all you can eat? Thank you very much. We'll just move right on in. And those beneficial bugs come in sometimes without even any thought or care on your behalf to take care of those bad bugs. So you don't have to go to the hardware store and spend a lot of money and put in toxic things that are maybe not so good for you, your plants, your pets, and putting that in place. Oh no, Mother Nature says, I'll take care of this. You just go over there and sit in the corner and have a nice cool drink, and we'll deal with this for you. And it happens more than you'd think.
Well, and that's why I say keeping some of those pests in there is good, because you already have the predators. So If they have a snack here and there, and then there's a smorgasbord that shows up, they'll be like, I'm going over there.
So essentially, you're sending in your own little mini gardeners to take care of this thing, and you're doing it with no effort and no planning. You're just starting to become an aware gardener. So you go, which bug is which? What is happening? And how do I know when the good bugs have chose to move in and do my work for me so that I don't accidentally do anything against these good bugs who are trying to solve my problem for me? So free employees, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. And if you have a really, really, really infested plant and you have quail or chicken, they'll take care of that for you. Chop that, give it to them. And I know quail will eat the aphids and then eat the leaf.
Fantastic. This chat is just burning up, so alive, so fantastic. I really appreciate what each of you are saying. Here's a comment from Big West saying, some areas are clean, others I let weeds happen for sun cover and root stimulation. It becomes compost. I'm very meticulous about my lawn, though. I probe temperatures, moisture multiple times daily. Wow, fantastic. But that is his business and that is his passion. And that's where he chooses to put his energy. And he is an intelligent gardener in that he's aware that he's making some areas have very precise control, but to know that there's areas where he needs to have it be a little messier according to most people's standards.
And you can choose which are your weeds too. Like you can still have weeds. Pull them out.
Yeah. In fact, I'm not going to remember because I've been, to be honest with you, a little unwell this week and I've been watching various different shows and stuff. But in one of the live streams that I watched on YouTube this week, someone was talking about having an area where the person is purposefully leaving a whole section of their fairly large property entirely to weed for the purposes of beneficial insects, not worrying about monitoring anything or processing anything, just simply choosing to have a certain section that's just for that purpose. And I guess the point is that gardeners is that it's almost like an endless encyclopedia of life of learning, and you have opportunities coming at you from so many different angles, and choosing to take those in can really benefit both your garden and your own life. And so it's a continual learning, in my opinion.
And it changes each year. So you're going to have different pressures each year. You may have one year that you may have a big insect pressure and you may have another year that you don't.
Yeah. So I do have variability in my garden as well. And I am trying to catch some of you as you come in and say hi to you and to catch some of the comments. But your lovely chattiness is a little overwhelming. So if I miss your comments, I am sorry for that. Robin is saying, I'm a tidy gardener with a couple messy areas. Both ways bring me joy. Wow. What a really nice comment from that. And let's see. And Muddy Puddles Farm saying, I'm definitely a messy gardener. For me personally, I live in an HOA type community that's a little bit relaxed, but not totally relaxed. And so I think some of them have concern about my messiness, the fact that some of it is purposeful and some of it is just, like I've been ill for a couple of weeks, so I've been unable to do what a lot of people are doing of a lot of heavy duty spring cleanup. But just kind of on the topic of spring cleanup, there are certain traditional ideas about what is right for spring cleanup, and maybe there's the adapted ways that you could kind of give us some insight to about, for example, in my neighborhood, a lot of people think the right thing to do is, things have fallen to the ground in the winter. Our snow just cleared off. So people are rushing around, picking up branches and raking the lawns and clearing out the flower beds right now. So do you have a few thoughts about that?
I don't deal with that because there's two types of things that happen with the dead stuff that falls. One is there's bacterial compost and there is fungal compost, bacterial dominated compost and fungal dominated compost. Fungal dominated compost is going to be things like sticks and twigs and stuff like that come from trees, and those are very good for trees. So doing wood chips around your fruit trees and stuff like that's really, really good. What the leaves do is they create a leaf mold, which has bacteria, and that is really, really, really good for your gardening plants, your annuals, your peppers, your tomatoes, stuff like that. So I say plant right into it, and clear off. If you're going to plant a seed, clear it away. There you go. But having mulch in your garden is a really, really good thing, especially if you have a baking sun that's going to come that summer, and having that mulch, whether it's leaves or straw or hay, or at my old place, I would let the native. So there were some California poppies that came in and from my neighbor's yard and just took over, which is great. It's a great source of pollen when there isn't other things. It's a great source of beauty and all of that. And what I would do is I would just let it grow wherever it was, and when it came time for planting, I would plant, and then I would pull up the poppies and put them on top of and that was the mulch. Put them on top of the soil of the garden beds. So you can have both things, and you can have the flowers. And the other thing about flowers and being a messy gardener is you can have your food plants, put flowers right next to them. It's fine. And the shape of the flower is going to also be different. So things like yarrow and the big daisy-like flowers, those asters, those make landing pads for good predator insects like the soldier beetle, that was called. Yeah. A lot of predator insects like that flat landing pad onto a flower, and so you can have beauty and medicine in the same place, and food as well.
And interestingly, some of those herbs and flowers and stuff might be not direct medicine for us, but are actually basically, like you talked about, beneficial plants attracting beneficial insects. So they're basically being, in some ways, medicine for your garden and for the types of ecostructure you want to create.
Yeah. So for yarrow, for example, another name for it is warrior's wort or carpenter's wort, and it is used to stop blood. I'm not a doctor, I have to say that, but it is used to stop bleeding. And legend is that a warrior would tuck some leaves into his belt before he went to war. I have actually tried it, and it does stop bleeding. I tried it on a little tiny cut, but it does stop bleeding pretty immediately. So does that. People use it as a tea. There's some warnings on that about there's some things that it can mess with if you're on different medications. But yarrow is one of the many plants that ladybugs use to, they have their larva and then they do a little chrysalis thing and then they turn into a ladybug, and that they use that. I've seen that also on my asparagus that I let go to fern and then stayed dry. They did it on that. They do it in a lot of different plants, but if you find those plants in your area that these insects are making their turn on, because they turn from larva into an adult in some form or fashion, if you find out what those plants are for your area, you're golden. You have your nursery right there.
Great. Shawnee introduces the idea about trap crops, and she says the optimum placement is 3 to 12 feet away from or as a perimeter boundary around protected crops. Do you have any comment about traps?
Yeah, so that's what I was talking about with the broccoli and the nasturtium earlier, and it's good. You can't have a trap crop in your crops, because otherwise all of your crops is a trap crop and then you just have a lot of bugs. Yes. So having it away, but close enough, close but far. I don't have an exact measurement, but that's a good idea. I know a lot of vineyards and orchards plant on the end of the row, and they have a strip on the end of their rows. This is the professional, guys, and they have roses is a good thing to attract, I think, aphids too. But they have roses. They do a lot of alyssum. They do a lot of flowers in there, and just different things. And that's their trap crop for that area. And they just choose to do it on the ends because it doesn't mess with their system, but it is also, as Shawnee said, close enough. And I see my dad's here. Hi. Yeah.
Super. We actually have a couple questions coming in. I just want to make sure that they're dealt with. One is not directly worded as a question, but Darth X has said the insect life cycle I would like to learn about is the bumblebee. Can you give us at least just a little bit of an idea about the bumblebee? And I just want to say, and of course, you're the insect expert. I'm the person that's kind of like learning and growing with all the rest of you at kind of like the beginning level. That there are, I'm aware of that there are tremendous amounts of native bees as opposed to a bumblebee. And I should be spending more of my efforts in supporting native bees. And that's the limit of my knowledge.
Yeah.
There.
I believe all bumblebees are native. The only non-native bee I'm aware of is honeybee. And so bumblebees are different because they bumble. They bumble. That is a word. They bumble. They go like this. They'll go up to a flower. They're really, really good pollinators for things like tomatoes. They'll go up to the flower, and what they'll do is they'll buzz, and they'll just go, and that's how they pollinate. That's how they get all the pollen on them, and that's the bumbling. And that's really good. So that's just a note on bumblebees. But there are multiple different types of bumblebees. There's 4 that are not petitioned. They are basically going to be counted as endangered in the United States. So there is good things to do for bumblebees. Bumblebees, there's tons of different types. And some of them live in colonies and some of them live individually. And some of them are individual at some points of the year. So some of them that live in colonies, they might live in the ground. So it's very important to have bare ground in your yard somewhere. There are a lot of different insects, but particularly a lot of native bees and some bumblebees are, they live in the ground. They live in a hole in the ground. And so some of that is colonial in the ground. And then when it's time for, almost winter, a lot of those will die off and the queen will find a different place and find her overwintering place and settle down. There's another bumblebee that's a carpenter bee, and they actually live in rotten wood. They'll dig it out and they'll have these things in the wood, and they'll actually cap off. They'll lay an egg, put in their resources that the egg needs, cap it off, lay another egg, put in the resources, cap it off. And then when those are born or when they hatch, they do all their eating and they eat their way out into the world. So there's a lot of different ones. You'll see bumblebees sleeping. If you go out in the summertime, in the early morning, you'll see them sleeping on grass or on leaves. So I would say look up your area and go from there, because there's a lot of different kinds.
So Big West is saying here, I was about to rake, as a matter of fact, and I'm waiting for the last ice to melt. What I choose to do, and I'm not saying it's everybody else's choices. We're learning as we're growing. We each have different circumstances. But what I've been doing is picking up big, loose, obvious sticks, because I live in an HOA. So right. Some people have different ideas about what's tidy and acceptable. But many of those branches I simply placed aside into another area, trying to provides potentially a little bit more habitat, but in a slightly out of the way place, so that those who have different cleaning sensibilities are not so bothered, but yet still a place that could be some habitat. And then any raking and stuff I'm putting off, and I am absolutely not touching any of the garden beds, which are fairly thick with chopped leaves and whole leaves in them, because I want that habitat to continue growing and forming for a while yet, until it's the right time for some of those, especially the beneficial insects, to come out, and I don't want to disturb them. So even though I live in an area that's a little bit more, we'll say, uptight than perhaps your area, I'm still trying to do minor adaptation, and one of my minor adaptations is do nothing. If I can get away with it, is do nothing for a while, because that's actually sensible forethought about what is going to help us with the beneficial insects.
And that's a really great thing. I just want to add, non-insect wise, but we're finding that A lot of the bats that regularly roost in leaves in trees, they're called foliage roosting bats. A lot of them we're finding are actually overwintering on the ground underneath leaf piles. So you might actually be disturbing bats if you're raking too early, depending on where you are, which is pretty incredible. Yeah.
Wow. I did not think of them as being in those kinds of locations.
You wouldn't, would you? It's pretty new research.
No, but I know that they are going to help us with the insects. So I welcome our bat overlords. Okay. A quick question here is Rob Zadek was asking Sean the gardener, and I thought we might answer this. What is yarrow? Because a few people have mentioned it.
Yeah.
Sean?
Yarrow is it's a plant that is native to the U.S. I don't know where all it's native to, but it's likely in Canada too. I would not be surprised if it. Yeah, but it's also something that you can buy as a plant in a nursery that it has different colors and all that. It is a flower. It is a flower that has a stalk and kind of a triangular head on it, with a bunch of little flowers. So. I recommend looking up, just Google the picture, and it's a really, really good plant to have. It also, if you cut it and put it into your compost, it accelerates the compost process. So it's a good plant. It's a medicinal. It's good for the wildlife. It's good for the bees. It's good for the predatory insects. Yeah.
I love how active and involved the chat is.
It's a good topic, huh?
And I like some of the things that people are saying, that people go, oh, I don't know if I'm going to create a whole big ecosystem or something. Even some of the awarenesses that people are starting to have that they didn't know 20 minutes or an hour ago. And they go, oh, so now, for example, right now, Dusty Flats is saying, I think I need to look for bumblebees in those mounds of chips out there. Even if that's the only lesson that you've learned today. Yep. You have become a better gardener, and you are helping create a better ecosystem. So even a single awareness, a single hesitation to go, oh, wait, when I'm about to do this, what impact will it have? What should I look for? Instantly, you are a better gardener than you were yesterday. And I just want to encourage some of you who go, I'm not sure if I'm going to do the whole big, she came up with the idea of an ecosystem at the beginning of this thing. We want to leave you with some lessons that are doable and simple and easy for you to consider, depending on your life, your garden, what is reasonable for you. And I love this one because it's just so simple. I'm about to do this. What will I look for?
Yeah, and an ecosystem doesn't have to be Mother Nature level. It doesn't have to be that big. We can have an ecosystem by providing variety if you have a small space, provide variety in type and structure.
Okay.
And add something with water. It'd be simple as that.
Yes. And I can't find where he entered here, but I just want to say hey to Big Well Dog. The chat is so lively and busy, I can't see where you entered, but glad that you are here. And I just want to remind some of you that if you have questions, because you are such a lively, fantastic chat, if you put your questions in all caps so that the host can see it, because I do want to try to answer your questions. We are covering so many interesting topics today, but I just want to throw that back out to you. Here is a direct question that came in quite a bit earlier. Is Robin Garden says, what is your favorite 3 edibles to let flower? Just for the beneficials.
Okay. Number 1, you guys have heard this from me last time I was on here. Borage. Okay. Borage is number 1. Bees love it. You eat the whole plant. The one thing to pay attention to is you don't really want to go through it with shorts on. But borage is number 1. It spreads readily. You don't have to plant it again. All of that. And then, let's see, edibles. I was going to say yarrow, but yarrow I don't really eat. Like I said, there is an interaction thing with tea. People do use it for tea, but look that up before you do that. Okay, so I'm going to say alyssum, and I haven't grown a lot of it, but it brings in so much. And alyssum is it's a relative of a broccoli, so it's a brassica. And it's spicy to eat. You can eat, most people don't know you can eat it, but you can eat it. It's a little spicy. And it brings in pollinators. It also acts as a trap crop. So it has multiple functions, and that's good. And then what would be a number 3 edible? That is for beneficials.
Well, Tony's trying to help you. He's throwing out a few lavender.
I don't really eat lavender. Comfrey. I don't eat those things. I know you can. Comfrey you have to be careful with. Again, there's some interaction stuff with that.
Here's another
marjoram.
helper. Muddy Puddles is mentioning calendula and dandelions.
Yep. And calendula also needs bare ground, so that's something to consider. You have your bare ground spots, put calendula in there. No, marjoram is going to be my number 1 thing for the insects and beneficials. I mean, the bees love it. The flies, like the hoverflies love it. Marjoram in bloom was the most active plant in my yard.
Okay.
Yeah.
I accidentally left, it sounds funny to say, but I accidentally left some marjoram like to itself for some time. And it is abundant and virile in my area. Yeah, like it was like, no stopping me, I'm going for it. And I had never seen such an like just the amount of insects that were so attracted to that was just,
And so marjoram and oregano are very closely related, and they both have very similar medicinal properties as well. So they're antimicrobial, antifungal, antibacterial, all these things. So having it in your diet is good. I would feed it to my quail, and when I had quail, I will again. And they were always very healthy. They're torn apart whenever I tossed it in there. And the insects absolutely love it. So I don't know if there's anything in the nectar of that is beneficial to the insects in that way, but I mean, I'd plant it.
We're getting so much wisdom coming out here in the chat. It's unbelievable.
I'm glad I picked the topic.
Yes. It's something that you might be interested in. So
I'll have to do a video on it on my channel later.
Yeah. Feel free to use the content today as kind of like a bit of a structure, but I'm just saying, I can't believe how much lively discussion we're having here in the audience. Muddy Puddles is saying it's an I should have.
It's like an umbrella.
Yeah, it's
umbrella
an umbrella
fire.
Flower. Yes. Yes.
An umble.
It's an umble. There we go. So I got another question. I just want to make sure we try to deal with people's questions as they come up. It's super helpful if you put it in all caps. Some of these are not coming out quite that way, so I'm sorting through and trying to find your questions. But here's Meg's Edible Landscape saying, I have major grasshopper pressure during the hot, dry parts of summer. Row covers typically help as long as the covers don't blow off, LOL. Yeah. So do you have any
grasshopper tips? We had big grasshoppers a couple years in a row at my old place. They're like that big. And honestly, chickens would help. But clapping them, really hard clap, that either kills them or stuns them. And then I trained a phoebe, which is a bird, a native bird. I would say, Phoebe, and it would come around the corner because I had a nest on the neighbor's garage. And I had a little high perch that I would put them on, and it would snag it and go. So their babies are very happy. Different kind of integrated pest management. But grasshoppers and katydids are very destructive. And honestly, that's what I did is I just went around and clapped them and called the Phoebe. Jay, you are on mute.
Right. I coughed and was trying to not share it with all of you. Meg, he was actually a guest on a live stream this week that I checked out. Was talking about the covers blowing off. So I've seen in the past, and not saying this is the most effective thing, I've seen people use things like boards laid down, like 2x4 type things to lay them down. I've seen people use rocks. I've seen people use sandbags. That's a little bit more of a planning ahead kind of thing of making some kind of sandbags. So those are the types of things that might help with the the blowing off, the lofting. I'm not sure what else. I'm sure people who in the chat might be able to suggest a couple of things, but those are
You
just
could stake it down too. Add some grommets in there along the edge and just stake it down.
Yeah.
I've not used row covers before, so that's something I've not had to use.
I've purchased some and I'm about to use them for the first time this year. The ones that I have are relatively unsophisticated and fairly inexpensive, but in the same dollar store where I got the seed trays, which might be used for crafting and beading and things, but I'm using them for seed organization, they also had row covers at a very simple level. And so I've purchased a few of those, and those are potentially going to be used this year. So thanks for that answer. And if anybody else has any wisdom or suggestions in the chat, I would appreciate your thoughts on that. Let's see. Oh, I think there was another question. Here we go. Dusty Flats is saying, we recently acquired voles and shrews. Caught several shrews as they eat worms, but I wonder if they eat seedlings. If not, we have a vole problem, and they are tricky.
So my knowledge about shrews is that they do not go after those. I don't know your area, so I don't know your shrews. So there may be some shrews that do that. Shrews are actually one of the venomous mammals that we have. In their saliva, from the back tooth, in the saliva, they actually have a venom. It's not going to affect us. They can't open their mouth that big. But when they bite insects, that saliva helps with that process. Their metabolism's super high, so they have to eat super a lot. And so I wouldn't be concerned about shrews, but voles go above ground. So they're mostly voles with a V, go mostly above ground. And if you're in a pasture or a grassy area, you can actually see their trails. And they will sleep at the base of bunch grasses. So you might look and see if that's what you're seeing. Otherwise, it might be gopher or moles with the M.
Yeah. Simplified Gardening, which is Tony, who, by the way, I will be discussing at the end of the show, but you guys have a little bit of a thing here, Tony is our guest tomorrow, and he has a really big announcement for us. So I'm going to be doing a more organized promotion at the end of the show. But Tony, who is here in our chat, we so appreciate everything that you shared with us, and big show and big news with us tomorrow with Enoch and Tony. And he's saying shrews are insectivorous.
Yeah, they're insectivorous. So they eat insects. They also eat earthworms. They do eat some smaller stuff, but yeah, they're mainly insectivorous. I know they do eat some fungus, depending on the variety, right? I mean, there's shrews that swim. What? There's a water shrew? Yes, that's a thing. But yeah, they're mostly going to be eating that. So I don't think that's going to be an issue for your plants.
Okay. Yes. Well, I just wanted to try and cover some of the questions because I get easily distracted by all kinds of amazing discussions and things that are going on. So I want to make sure that we are dealing with your questions. And just a reminder for those of you who do have questions, if you can put those questions in all caps. We so appreciate the questions, but it's a little harder for me to dig out when you guys are having your fantastically vivid discussions going on. But I am multitasking here and doing my best. And if you shouty out in those caps, I can better find you. So there we go. Let's see. I just want to see if there's been some recent questions come about. Someone is talking about, you were talking about the voles and the other different things. Sean is saying, I've got rats here, had to up my game.
Well, rats will peel lemons. So if you have a lemon tree that you have lemons hanging on there without a peel, you have rats. That was a very odd thing to learn in my own backyard.
Luckily, that's not a problem where I am so far. Knock on whatever surface is going to help. But I'm not having to deal with that problem. I'm just going to go back to some of the prepared stuff that I've got. One of the things that I mentioned was neutral insects. There's insects that are neither in that oversimplified good or bad category, but still perform a role in our garden. So do you have any comments or things?
Yeah, I mean, if they're good or bad, those are good or bad. You can plan for those things. The ones that just exist, they are doing more than just existing. They are providing frass, which is poop, which is good. Poo is good, guys. It's a garden. Yep. And they're providing that. They are sometimes providing in the soil. If their larvae are in the soil, they're providing oxygen. They're oxygenating that soil if they're in the ground. Same thing with like earthworms and stuff like that. And they are part of the ecosystem. So, ecosystem's it looks at everything as a big word, it's a big world. But if you are supporting your ecosystem in your garden, it doesn't mean you have to do everything that Mother Nature's doing, but have the ground covered in some way, have bare dirt in some places, support those things. So yeah, I mean, they still play roles. You guys let us know in the comments if there's other roles that you can think of that those can play.
Yeah, and one comment I was going to have for people in the audience is talk about what's flowering in your garden right now. I showed you my little snowdrops because winter and the snow literally just barely left us. That's the main thing that I've got what's flowering in my garden right now, but maybe you want to talk about what's growing in your garden. But one concept I came across when I was doing a little bit of research about this was the idea of continuous bloom strategy, like to have flower occurring from the very earliest time, like my snowdrops peeking up from those snow banks as they were receding right through to light season. And I'm just going to say something personally about it and then have you share your ideas. Is one of the absolute gold reasons of why I bought this house in particular was extremely established flower gardens that the person who had lived here spent 20 years of her heart and soul building in. And what it is a continuous show. Different areas, different types. But I literally have barely any time from April till November, which is our growing season in which things are active and alive in ways that we normally see it, of just tons and tons and tons of different plants. Now, she didn't do that in a day. She didn't do that in a year. Yeah. But when it became available to her and as things went, she decided to plant a little of this and a little bit of that and a little of those things. So I've got the beauty of a continuous show of different flowers throughout my whole year. And I didn't lift a finger. It was part of what I did for the purchasing of the property, but it was part of the reason of why I bought it. Now, am I doing different things to support and improve it? Now, that's just for my own eye satisfaction of like, what is the decor in my yard? But we're talking about ecostructure and ecosystems and how it can be part of it. And accidentally, I have stumbled into that. Do you want to talk about how that's
yeah, absolutely. So I know, so I just got bees a few weeks ago. And so I have one beehive now, and I've been involved in a bee group for a long time. And one of the things that, I asked is, well, what's, they store things and all that, but where are our slow pieces? Like, what do I need to look for to plant in a certain time, to bloom in a certain time? So in my area, that's how I found it in my area, through my bee group. And that's a good resource if you want to know what's flowering, right? They know. They know.
Okay.
October is a really low flower time for my area. So in October, that is something that I'm going to be looking for. What plants grow September through November that will flower September through November here. So I'm filling gaps. So having available flowering resources, like right now, the maple trees are just now starting to flower. That happened a couple days ago. They started. The cherry plums and the hawthorns have been flowering. The cherry trees are flowering right now. I just saw pear started yesterday. But, you have all this fruit stuff flowering now. And later in the year, you don't have very much. So this is something that you can also apply to the fruit trees in your yard or the plants that you're growing in your yard. So, I want peaches, but I only want them for this season. That's fine. Well, I want peaches, but I want it to last this long. How do you do that? You get different peach trees that bloom at different times, that flower at different times, that fruit at different times. And then after you have that, you're going to extend your fruit period. And at that point, you can have smaller trees because you don't need all that fruit. Maybe you do. But you can do that with that. You can do that with your flowers and also having a variety of flower types. So we talked about the landing pads of yarrow. There's some flowers that hang upside down like this. There's all sorts of different shapes, and that will increase your diversity, not only of flowers but also of your insects, which makes a better ecology.
Great. There was a broad category that I came across when I was doing my little bit of research, and I just wanted to cover this before we move on to creating a habitat that would be more suitable for this, is to consider whether you're going to have nectar and pollen sources within those flower choices that you make, because different insects have different needs. And by providing the food source that is the type they need, when they need it, where they need it, the type they need it, we don't have to get heavily analytical at first, but gradually, as we're puzzle piecing that mosaic together of how to create a full ecosystem, eventually you want to consider these categories for the flowers.
Well, and if you're wanting to attract hummingbirds, let's say if you have some hummingbird talk in the chat, if you're wanting to attract hummingbirds, which actually do eat insects too, especially when they have babies, they'll go after. I've seen them pick ants and things off the ground. I've seen them pick bugs out of spider webs to feed their babies. Yeah. But something like a columbine or something that's a deeper thing that will attract hummingbirds, and also some of these moths that replace hummingbirds in desert ecosystems. And then if you want to attract native bees, you might look up things with smaller tubes to look at those ones. So and they're going to get, like I said earlier in the chat, the pollen is the protein, and then the nectar is the carbohydrate, and that's what flowers provide our pollinators.
So our time is disappearing really quick. We still have a little bit more time. I can't believe it's disappeared. It feels like it's been 10 minutes, and yet we're coming up. I want to just cover a little bit more about habitat features, like how we can make that habitat variable for those things. And I'm kind of giving you guys last call on questions, because I'm going to, finish this next section, and then we're going to have to wrap up. And it's just unbelievable. I feel like we need another hour. Maybe you need to do a whole series on this. I don't know. It's a big, diverse topic with so many different interesting features to it. So I'm just going to go right now to habitat features. So this is ways you can structurally change things in your garden. Some of them might be things that only take 5 minutes. Some take a little bit more thought, research, and planning, but these are things that you might want to consider. And one is bare ground and ground nesting bees, why mulch may be harmful. Can you give a little bit of discussion about why some amount of bare ground is actually a good thing?
Yeah, so bare ground. So at my old place, once I discovered mulch is lovely. I love mulch. Put it everywhere except for the places that you don't want it. I put it everywhere. I did, and it improves absolutely, not absolutely everything, almost everything. But like I said earlier, calendula needs bare dirt to grow. There are seeds that need bare dirt. A redwood tree, big, huge tree, the biggest tree, the smallest cones, I think they're like that big, but they'll drop a cone and it has to go on bare dirt. There can't be duff underneath it because it won't doesn't have the energy to go out and into the soil. And so there are plants that don't do well with mulch. Mulch is really good in a lot of instances. However, you don't put it right up against a tree. Mulch is like a sponge. It's going to hold moisture. So if you're in a super, 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 super wet area, you probably want to limit yourself on that. So, but it also is a place for mycelium to grow. And that is also beneficial. That's my fast answer.
Great. I'm not trying to rush you or anything.
Oh,
I'm
no.
just trying to give people some kind
Yeah.
of takeaways of things they might choose to do some things to make some change in their garden that's going to help with this as we, kind of finish off the show. So another one is water resources, that you need some of those, shallow dishes with stones, mud for pollinators. Do you have any comments about that subject?
Yeah, I would say those are really great ideas. The thing with those is people forget to fill them. So a lot of people say the best thing in your garden, the best thing for a garden is a gardener's shadow. No, I disagree. The best thing for your garden is automatic water. Second best thing is your shadow.
Okay.
You can actually coordinate filling these things up with an automatic water system, and you can still spend the same amount of time in your garden. People are like, oh, but I like to do this. I'm like, but you want to keep your animals happy. And if your animals are the wild insects of the world, having a place for that is good. At my old place, I dug a pond. Some sort of water feature is going to be good. And it doesn't have to be a big one. If you want things like dragonflies and damselflies, it does need to be big enough that they can breed in, and because they are aquatic in their larval stage. Doesn't have to be huge. So literally a water trough, a barrel, whatever, throw some minnows in there to keep out the mosquitoes, and you're good. If you are going to have water source like that, make sure you either have emergent vegetation, which means it's planted in the soil in the water and it emerges out, or have some sort of floaty thing like a lily pad or a fake floaty thing. So you're not just killing the insects that come to the water. They actually have something to hold on to while they take their drink.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've also seen people use very shallow dishes like a saucer and then throw some stones in it so that it's a landing area, and yet, an area they can.
And you can do a slope. There's all sorts of ways to do it. Yeah.
Okay, great. And like I mentioned a few minutes ago, we're going a little bit fast here. It's such a comprehensive topic that we could be doing a whole series, but we're trying to give you a few pointers to take away. I have just a couple more areas I wanted to kind of cover before we go about habitat features. And we talked about this earlier in the show, is messy features, about deliberately having or accidentally having, in some people's cases, some messy features around to be able to provide habitat for your insects.
Yeah, and not only just for insects. I mean, you put that up there, and I immediately thought of if you have toads or frogs, if you just take something, make a little shelter, make a little tiny thing. It could just be a board and a brick. It could be a little tiny terracotta pot that you cut a hole out of, and those will find. Frogs and toads are great for gardens.
Yes.
Those will find those areas and be. I mean, your garden's going to benefit for that too. Yes. But yeah, making shelters for things, and the shelters can only need to be this big or this big.
One of my first purpose structure, which I'm going to get into man-made structures or person-made structures that we can utilize, is that I am a klutzy person, and when I had terracotta pots, I would chip or damage it somehow. And being a very thrifty / frugal / cheap person, I'm like, oh, but how else can I use this? And that broken terracotta pot, most of them without any change or anything to them, can simply be laid down in a specific way. And now it's a hotel for your toads or frogs, and gives them a habitat so that they're going to be providing the beneficial aspects they can to your garden. So
yeah, and by doing this, what you're talking about with dead stems, litter, and all that, it gives insects a place to put their eggs as well. So different insects put their eggs in different places. Some of it's underneath a rock or underneath a log. or stick. Some of it's on the back of a leaf. There's lots of different places where different kinds of insects can put their eggs. And so if you know who the adults are in your yard, look up what the larvae are going to look like, and then look up what their eggs are going to look like. So that's how I wouldn't try and ID a grub unless you have someone available to you who's an entomologist. I would start with, what are my adults? Are they good or bad? Are they moderate? Whatever. And then work your way back to identification.
Yeah, and this title is sort of like the last in the series of our discussion for today is man-made options, which I'm sorry, I'm a little unwell. I should have called it gardener-made options or something like that. I'm sorry for the accidental.
You're good.
Yeah. Is insect hotels, rock piles, border edges left wild, and I'd mentioned, things like salvaging pots and stuff like that to be able to purposefully make it. And sometimes if you're in an area that's, we'll say, wound a little tight, like the neighbors are really fussy about messy areas and that, or maybe an HOA or something, if you do purposeful areas, then it is now tidy and arranged in a way that doesn't hurt their heads or their rules or something like that.
Yeah.
And yet you're providing habitat for the insects.
And one of the things that I can say definitely nobody knew, unless I told them, is at my old place, which was in town, I had a wooden gate, wooden fence and wooden gate. And it had, as we discussed earlier in the show, I had drilled, I had, screw holes in it. I put my lock on backwards, my gate lock, and it should have been this way. And so there were holes. And they were inhabited by little native bees, and they had little bee butts hanging out. But if you just drilled your fence full of little tiny holes, that's habitat. Like, that's good habitat, because nobody knows about it. Nobody's going to know about it, except if you're out there with your drill doing ridiculous things, right? Yeah.
So I want to thank you so much for your time, your expertise, your enthusiasm today. I feel like, again, like almost every guest in every series I've done to, provide a show, that each topic could have been a series of 5 or 6 or 7, or maybe even just a channel onto itself. But I want to thank you so much for coming up with this topic, joining us here today, being a good supporter of the channel in general, and that you are now a regular contributor for us. And I so appreciate you being here with us today. If you have a few minutes after the show, we can have a quick little chat. But I just want to emphasize to everyone that this is Katrina from Sow and Tare. And if you check out the links that are going to be provided both in the description below and in the chat, you can join up with her channel. She does live streams, she does regular videos, and as I'd mentioned previously, she's a contributor and friend to the show, and we so appreciate her being with us today.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, thanks. Wow. I feel almost overwhelmed by the fantastic information we got. Some takeaways that I got as, again, not an entomologist, just a beginning gardener, I'm not a beginning gardener, but I'm beginning to learn about what beneficial insects are about. And these are some of the lessons that I learned, which are not deep and complicated, but things like beneficial insects, that nature isn't tidy, that over cleaning removes overwintering insect eggs and the larvae that could be beneficial and actually help me to have less work in the garden. That messy means that I have a more resilient garden. That fall cleanup can sometimes harm the beneficial insects that you want to have around. So you want to double think about that, do a little bit more research before you do a big fall cleanup or spring cleanup, that those seed heads can be for winter food. The stem cavities can be great for nesting. And one of the basic lessons that was kind of like from my youth that I've now learned is don't fear the insects. Not all insects are bad. Planting for diversity, building a habitat, and embracing some degree of mess in your garden is actually beneficial to you, your plants, your produce, and our ecostructure that we want to be part of. And again, I just want to thank Katrina so much for her expertise and knowledge that she's had here and that she shared with us. I want to thank all of you. If you just stick around for a few more minutes, I'm actually going to be promoting some other shows that we're going to be having in the near future. And thank you so much for your time and attention today. So, as I teased out earlier today, we are going to be having a show tomorrow. It is going to be hosted by our regular host, which is Enoch. And our host is away for today, but back tomorrow with our guest, which is Tony from Simplified Gardens. And as you'll notice there, he is showing some of his crops, but he's got a word down there that you might not have seen before called Grow Track. And what he's doing is he's doing a big announcement to us about what is Grow Track. It's a project he's been working on for certainly months, and I think maybe even years, to provide a very interesting thing that you might want to hear about tomorrow. So that's going to be Sunday at this same place. It's 2 p.m. Eastern. Adjust for what your time is. Tony O'Neill here as our guest tomorrow, talking about Grow Track. And on Monday, we have the Green Room, which is in the evening. And we are going to have as our guests the Texas Garden Guy and Phil's Figs. So they are going to be with our two hosts on that night, which is Natalie and Enoch. So Texas Garden Guy, who does a live stream of his own as well as regular shows, and Phil's Figs, who is a regular person on his lives and has his own channel. Monday night, same time, same place. But that's not all that's going on here. The next edition we'll be having of the Let's Get Growing Book Club will feature Emily Murphy, who has the book Grow Now. And that book, I'm just going to give you a closer look at it, Grow Now, in case you want to purchase it before we do that live stream. So it's about go beyond organic, rewild your land, sequester carbon, support biodiversity. So this book, Grow Now, by Emily Murphy, will be our next episode of the monthly gardening book club. So I want to thank you so much for joining us today, for our guest, for taking her time and expertise to help us here. That was Katrina from Sow and Tare, and for you being part of our audience. We deeply appreciate you joining us. This is the Jaybot Takeover. Once in a while, Enoch is not available as the host, and when that happens, I step in to take over and help out. I so appreciate your patience with my occasional cough. Sorry for that, but just that's the way my health is going now. And the fact that I'm not usually a content creator, but still trying to provide a product to you that's worth hearing and learning about. I'm just going to go back to the comments and just see if there's anything that people have to say about today's show. Simplified Gardening will be here tomorrow. We'll see what I can do. That's fantastic. Let's see what other comments people have made here. Tony is a legend. Helped me with some great ideas. That's Sean the Gardener. Thank you so much for saying that. And I had some wildflowers from Wildbox. They had seeds up until 2 weeks ago, and the snow started. Wish I knew. Yeah, but you never know. It might be self-sowing itself. So that may be the case. Anyway, I'd like to thank all of you for being with us today. Please join us. We are a 3-day weekend each show. We would love for you to join us on that 3-day weekend. And we are here every Saturday and Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. The Green Room is happening Mondays at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. We do want to thank you so much for joining us and have a shout out to Team Replay. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And also add your comments down below. And thank you for joining us after the stream and letting us know in those comments if you have anything that you'd like to say by joining in on that conversation, by dropping in those comments or questions. And that's in the comment section after the show. We will have links down below to both our guest and other material for you, including our show sponsor, which is IV Organics. We also have direct donations and details about how to do that through these different links, which are down below. And I just like to thank you so much for taking your time to be with us today, joining us here. We so appreciate your time and energy. The chat area specifically was so vibrant and so busy and so supportive. I couldn't keep up with you all, and it's a delicious problem to have. Anyway, thank you for being with us today, and I'm just going to close out the show. Thank you. Have a great day, and enjoy your gardening.
This is the ugliest plant in the world, but I love it.